I love how you crack yourself up.
Thank you. I rather love it too.
Oh my goodness.
Monday Motivational Madness. A crazy good way to start your week.
Hola, you amazing artists, and welcome to a Monday Motivational Madness brought to you by our amazing patrons. This weekend we had some fantastic Zoom calls with some really awesome creatives, and there was a subject in particular that stood out to me in those Zoom calls.
They're not our subjects, honey.
No, not like that. Not like I'm the king and they're my subjects. I mean topics of discussion.
Well, I knight the Sir topics of discussion.
Oh my God. That is confronting the idea that you can't do something. For a lot of us creatives, a lot of times it has to do with that thing that you do want to do, that you want to get done, whether it is art, putting yourself out there, music, whatever it is. Many times the biggest roadblock for us is being able to put ourselves out there or to even get the thing started. Because a lot of times in that initial stage, you feel that maybe you're not enough, maybe that you're not good enough, maybe that it's just not who you are, that you're not the kind of person that can actually do that thing that you really want to do. When I was young, I was very creative. I was always drawing and sketching, and I was very quiet. And because I was very quiet in a very rambunctious family, when I started to go to school and interact with other kids, I was what you would call a nerd. And this was back when being a nerd wasn't like popular.
Man, I would have given anything to be called nerd in school. Weak, lacks social skills, poor, dresses weirdly, below average grades.
No, there was nothing popular about the way that I was called nerd. Nerd! Because I was so introverted, I was really quiet, and honestly, I was really different from most of the kids, not only in my family, but a lot of the kids that I went to school with. You're weak. Boy. And for the most part, I didn't really speak up. I didn't use my voice. At this point, you start hearing those things that you're not good at from other people. Even if they don't say it directly, they'll say something like, well, you know, you need to be a little bit better at making friends. And what that would tell me at that point in time in my life was that I sucked at making friends. I was popular at home in my own imagination when there were no humans around.
Oh, me too. Yeah, my Care Bears loved me.
You're probably wondering, why are you telling me a story about your childhood? I thought we were going to talk about creating an art career. And in actuality, it is very, very much tied into that idea that I had a voice, but I wasn't speaking it out there. And in fact, back then, I didn't even believe I had a voice. I believed that my role in society was to stay quiet. With this belief pretty much becoming the foundation, as I grew up and I really wanted to put myself out there, and I honestly became a little bit more popular, but even still, I always felt like an imposter. I always felt like I wasn't good enough. I always felt like whatever I would do, that I was trying to fool everyone, that it would just never stack up out there in the world. So whenever the idea of putting myself out there with my art or any other creations that I wanted to put out there, I always stood in my own way. I didn't recognize that I was sabotaging myself, that I was the one that was actually holding myself back from really, really diving in and putting myself out there, ultimately because I was afraid that I would fail. You know, when you're sitting around telling yourself that you're an imposter, that you're not good enough, that who the heck are you to be putting yourself out there? Who the heck are you to be an artist or writing a book or doing music or anything like that? Really, at that point, what ends up happening is you sabotage yourself. You remind yourself constantly that you can't do this thing. And so you're going to avoid that fear of failure. You're going to avoid failure because, you know, failure is painful. So I'm there and I really want to put myself out there, right? Like in my heart of hearts, my art out in the world was something that I wanted. I wanted it so bad. I wanted to put a book out there. I wanted to put my artwork out there. I wanted to write music. I wanted to do these things and really put myself out there. Essentially, I wanted to have a voice. However, deep down inside, I was afraid. I was afraid that I would put all this effort into doing this, into putting myself out there, into creating art and sharing it out there with the world, and that I would fail and I would feel stupid. And other people would tell me how stupid I was to attempt this thing that is impossible. You know, that's not you. That's not who you are. We grow up in a world where you're defined by other people telling you these definites, right? They tell you, this is who you are. This is who you are not. Don't try and do. You need to be better at this. You need to be better at that. You can do this. Yes, you can do this. I believe in you. Or you know what? Don't even try that. You can't really do that.
Don't get your hopes up.
Yeah, don't get your hopes up. Things you should not say to your children when they are aiming for the stars. At some point, we start taking on that narrative ourselves and telling ourselves that.
Have a realistic plan for your future.
Realistic. You know when it becomes realistic? When it's realized. That's what it means.
Ooh,
when something is realized, that's when it becomes realistic. And it starts by being unrealistic because it hasn't been realized.
Yeah, so if people are telling you you're stupid, you're probably onto something.
Yes. We especially remind ourselves of what we're not capable of, what we can't do, what we should stay away from because, we're going to stay away from the things that hurt us, and failure is this big, scary topic.
People like us don't really make it in that world.
Oh my goodness. Why do you sound like a peasant, a plebeian from like the medieval times?
I don't know.
What is it? This is the kick you're on?
I guess so.
Oh, God. We essentially talk ourselves out of what we are capable of doing without even trying it. And so we repeat these things to ourselves about who we are, what we're capable of, and we just proclaim it out into, well, that's just who I am. It's like you buy into this narrative and you tell yourself things like, oh, well, I never finish what I start. You know what? I'm just not good enough. Someday I'll be good enough and then I'll do this. I'm destined to fail. I mean, who am I to be trying to do this? I don't know enough about this stuff.
And let's not forget, I don't have the resources. That's a hugely frustrating one, right? I have these big ideas and I don't have the resources to make them happen.
Yeah, because a lot of times when people see someone else succeed, they're like, well, they had this resource and they had this person backing them up and this person blah, 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 blah. The thing is not realizing how much failure it took to get to that place.
Yeah. I'm not going to say across the board, but I'd be willing to wager that almost no one starts with the resources that they need.
What I want you to think about are the things that you are capable of, the things that you are, the fact that if you set your mind to anything that you can actually move forward with it. Focus on the things that you can do right now. Focus on the things that you are capable of doing right now, understanding full well that in getting that process started, then all the things that maybe you need a little bit of work at or things like that, all of that will come because you're actually putting in the time, you're putting in the energy, you are striving for something. And in doing that, you can't help but move forward. You don't stay stagnant. When you decide that you're not going to do something because of whatever reason, whatever narrative you have in your brain, then there's no movement. There's no movement there. You're not heading towards anything. When you decide to do it, even if it is a small baby step and you're moving forward, that's where you got momentum and you just go with that flow, and then everything else just kind of falls into place little by little. You can create art. You can be big. You can put yourself out in the world. You can approach a gallery. You could distribute your music. You could share your artwork on social media. You could basically just put yourself out there and have a voice. Now, if you're afraid of failure, that's something that you're going to want to investigate. You're going to want to take a look at. Here is the interesting thing about failure. Failure is par for the course for success.
So one of the big, huge art installations that we worked on ultimately was considered by some to be a failure.
Yeah.
Because it didn't go on to produce other installation shows.
Yeah.
Now, in my mind, it wasn't a failure at all, and I would never trade that experience.
No
it was
way.
incredible.
The only time that failure really sticks is when things become stagnant because you failed and then you stopped. Whenever you run into failure, it's an opportunity to pivot, to change things around, to head in a new direction, to do something new, to really, really push at the boundaries that are keeping you where you are. If you are not succeeding at something, all that is showing you okay, well, maybe I need to change things up. Maybe I could do this a little bit better. Maybe I could change my approach on this. Maybe I could change my perspective on that. Failure is not this big scary thing, and it's not this thing that is final. We don't live in a world of definites. It's not just you are like this and you aren't like this. It's not like that. It doesn't work like that. And honestly, if you want to succeed, failure is a huge part of it. It's essential. Failure is a major ingredient in being able to succeed in whatever it is that you want to do. That's the irony of it. If you're running away from failure, then essentially you're running away from success.
All of my very best life experiences have happened because amateur me decided to put myself out there and pursue some scary thing that I was not prepared for or qualified for.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of times people wait around because they're like, well, I'm just an amateur. I'm not. It's like everyone's an amateur. What are you going to do? Wait around until you're not an amateur? Like, what's the criteria for not being an amateur? Putting it out there.
Use it as a superpower. Like, just be so amateur that you don't know any better than to just go for it.
Yeah, I'm such an amateur. I just do it, and I'm like, whatever. Let's see if this works. Let's see if that works. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. If you take all that narrative out of your mind and really investigate what it is that you think about yourself, what you believe you are capable of, whether or not you think you're enough or not to be able to put yourself out there, whether or not you think you're good enough. So many of us get wrapped up in the idea of being good enough and we get stuck there. And I'm like, just put it out there. You're going to keep evolving and changing and evolving and changing. And your idea of good enough just doesn't, that is a personal challenge for you. And if you are waiting until you're good enough, chances are you will never put yourself out there because that's just an excuse to not put yourself out there because it's part of that narrative that you aren't good enough. I'm here to tell you that yes, you are good enough, that yes, you can put yourself out there, yes, you can share your voice. The only thing that needs to happen is that you need to do it. You need to take that step. You need to take that step, the first step, and then the next step, and the next step. Don't worry about the destination. Just take your steps one by one.
Will it have been a waste of time? I don't know. If you're feeling fulfilled and enjoying the experience, is a fulfilling life a waste of time? I personally don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. Don't wait around for permission from someone else. Don't wait around for validation. Don't wait around to see if you can fit into whatever commercial thing is popular in the art world, in the music world, in whatever creative field that there is, because all of those trends are constantly changing, and either you are a trend maker or you are a follower of trends. Put yourself out there with what you have. You have no idea what is going to become popular and what is not going to become popular. But most importantly, you're not putting yourself out there to become popular. You are putting yourself out there because you have something to share. You have a voice. At the end of the day, my decisions are dictated by one simple thing. And this might seem a little bit morbid, but trust me, this works for me. I think about my last day on this planet and looking back at something that I'm deciding whether or not I'm going to do now. And I think to the future and I think to myself, would I regret not going for it? One of the biggest challenges to that is like, well, will I regret if I go for it and I fail? Possibly if you quit, but if you don't quit, then it's not a failure. You just keep going and going and going and going. A lot of us think that there is a final destination to it, and there just isn't. As long as you are breathing, you have an opportunity to just stubbornly persist. If you allow your decisions to put yourself out there to be impacted by whether or not people are paying attention, am I becoming famous anytime soon, or anything like that, then you're missing the point, because you have to choose, why am I putting this out there? Am I putting this out there simply because I want to make money? Am I putting it out there simply because I want to be seen as this? I want to be validated? Am I putting myself out there because I have a voice? Because I have something to say? Because I have something to share? Because I was here, darn it. Be so stubborn at it. Just keep, no matter what, even if everybody is telling you, oh, you're wasting your time, that's not going to work, all the stuff that people love to tell you, just be infuriating, be persistent, just keep doing it, keep going, and show yourself that you have the strength to move forward despite what the world wants you to think. It's just the act of doing something that you were too afraid to do before and just doing it. Just doing it. And don't worry about the response. Who cares? You're not doing it for that reason. You are doing it because maybe there's one person out there that will look at it. One person. And that is amazing, because that gets your journey started. It won't always just be one person, and it might take years to get to where you want to get to, but you will get there as long as you don't give up, because if you give up, then you could mark that off as a failure. Or even still, a work in progress, because you could always pick it up again.
I have one more very important thing to add to this subject. All giant sequoia trees begin their lives as small saplings from some of the tiniest seeds in the tree world.
That's actually really good.
Thank you.
Oh, I like that one. Yes. Yes. And that's it, you guys. Hopefully you guys got something out of this Monday Motivational Madness. And I want to give a big thank you to our patrons. This series came from them. And also I want to give a big shout out to Kirkman Studios. His name is Ethan. He's a woodworker, maker, and emerging artist working primarily in wood and acrylics. And you can find him on Instagram under Indigo Wood Crafts. Check him out. He is awesome. So once more, yes you can. Just do it. As long as you're doing it, then you're doing it. Plain and simple. And I would love to hear a story in your life where you were infuriatingly persistent, stubbornly persistent, and just kept going and showed yourself that you were capable of doing something that possibly somebody else said that you were not going to be able to do. Please leave that in the comment section below. I'm about to end this Monday Motivational Madness. Do you want to say goodbye to all our peeps out there?
I do indeed. Good day.
And thank you so much for watching, you guys. You guys are absolutely freaking amazing. I totally adore you. And if you like this, which is a call to action, I realize now, you could click right here to subscribe and have an amazing, creative, freaking awesome week, you guys. Again, I adore you. Adios.